So what if you can't afford a 45 hyper or a GHD or some sort of machine that has you in that position where you're working the posterior chain full of blood, body weight stuff? What if you don't have something like this? Where do you go? One of you fellas said it last night, and this is exactly why I'm doing what I'm doing this morning. Good mornings. Good mornings for a 4:30 a.m. good morning. It's kind of suited and fitting, and it's great. It's fantastic. It's fantastic. I've done this exercise few blocks, throughout the journey. I've had experience doing this, and basically every single time I've done it, I've had a good experience with it. Once again, this time around, I'm armed with some more knowledge and some more experience. This whole idea of blood pump training, circulation, recovery, how to recover from kick-ass sessions that have you doing multiple reps at 80, 90%. How do you recover? Well, the way you recover is you must end those sessions with some light work for high reps, getting blood in, getting a pump in your lower back, in your hamstrings, whatever the area you're working. Really, I think this is across the whole body. If you have that holistic approach to making sure that you flush the area out with blood after the training session, man, your recovery is going to be insane. Like literally, like I told you guys in yesterday's video, I kicked my ass with these deficit pulls. I walked out, that part of the session, like, oh, I'm going to feel this tomorrow. Ended that session with some GHD back raises, woke up the following morning like nothing happened. So I'm sold on this. But there are always days during the week where I can't go to the gym and I can't have access to the GHDs and 45 hypers and things of that nature. So, automatically my mind started racing. And one of you fellas said last night, good mornings, man. It's the most similar thing to it. Something similar is also the RDL. You can do the Romanian deadlift, or you could do the, good morning. I think good morning is more similar to these exercises, the GHD back raises and the 45 hypers, because it removes the lat out of the picture. When you're handling the RDL, your capacity to add weight goes to the roof because the lats stabilize the hell out of your upper body. So, right here I'm using a barbell to do the good mornings and to have the same stimulus to the, lower back and hamstrings and whatnot. I would have to load weight, if I was doing an RDL. So because, the lats, the bar is kind of, in your hands. And so the lever is shorter from the fulcrum, right? And so the capacity to load the weight goes to the roof. Now, I'm not saying RDLs are not good. They're definitely good. It just depends how you approach things. So let's say, go get a heavy exercise that I've selected is the deficit. Can you do deficit deadlifts and RDLs? Yeah, you can do everything anytime. It's just how you approach it. If you're going hammer and tongs on the deficit deadlifts, I think the RDLs is a bit too much. I don't want any load. Honestly, I do not want any load when it comes to these blood flushing exercises, the hypers, GHDs, good mornings. That's what I've got in mind right now. Just especially for a 4:30 in the morning session. And you guys will see today was a above average session, to say the least. For a 4:30 a.m. start, well, it was probably more like closer to 5 a.m. I woke up at 4:30, cold, rainy morning, I'm stiff, all that stuff like you expect on a morning session without food in the belly, nothing, right? I felt really good. And I attribute that to the last 3 days. The GHDs, the hypers, and now the good mornings. Squatting feels good, especially doing 5 sets of 30 of good mornings prior to the front squats. I just feel good. I don't know, how else to say it. Send the blood into the body, and then you can load the body. So in my mind, I'm thinking to myself, each session should be started at one of these exercises. Now, it does not have to be like a hardcore, I'm selling you guys good mornings or hypers, whatever. I don't really care what it is. You can do RDLs. You can do anything you want, anything that kind of suits your personality and your whatever you find fun. There's no, magic exercise here, whatever. But if you are working a particular body part, pick an exercise which is lightweight. I mean, you can add weight depending on how you do it, like an RDL or whatever, but you can pick whatever you want and just get blood in it. 5 sets, 30, 20 reps, 40 reps, 50 reps, whatever you're doing. Just get blood in that area and then start going up that pyramid and loading the weight up and working to whatever the top set or whatever you're doing for the day. Ideally, on the way down, I think you should still finish off with the same stuff that you warm up with, the cool down. Now I'm thinking about like the early days of basketball and the early days of PE in high school. The coach is there, forcing you to, warm up and and cool down and all that boring stuff, man. Like when I was 13 years old, I could literally come out of bed and go into a full sprint. I'm talking about a full sprint and feel nothing. That's how a 12 or a 13-year-old or a freaking 5-year-old feels. I watch my son pop out of the bed and he's like in a full sprint in 2 seconds. Like he's just 0 to 100 real quick. But if you do that as an adult or as a 33-year-old, you're probably going to be sore. And the reasons for that, I'm not entirely sure, but I think it's our body changes. We lose elasticity in our tendons, ligaments, muscles. We gain strength. This is something, old man strength. You're kind of going towards that. Dad strength, father strength. But you lose mobility and flexibility, right? And so that, removes the ability for you to drop the clutch from 10 grand as soon as you turn the car on. But once you warm that baby up, you run a 10 quarter mile, that kind of thing, right? So, it's a trade-off. But as you start aging, as you start becoming more professional, I guess, and more serious with your training, some of these boring parts of the session become very, very important. I've heard you guys say a lot of times to me that the warm-up is actually the session. The warm-up is actually the whole session, 90% of the session. That top weight makes a very, very small part of the session. And so everything you do beforehand sets that top set up, but it's that volume beforehand that actually makes the whole thing happen. So today I was supposed to be, doing the pull-ups and, all that stuff from 10, 9, 8, 7. But when I find something like this, man, I can't forget about it. I can't walk away from something that makes me feel good. It simply makes me feel good. And so on these morning sessions where I have limited amount of time, I have like 45 minutes to train. Yes, pull-ups, I love pull-ups, man. Don't get me wrong. But I want to feel good, man. And what makes me feel good is when I'm able to squat and go to work and feel great about it. And know that I hit 140 kilos today for 3x3. That makes me feel good. What am I going to do with the pull-ups and the rest of it? I'll definitely continue doing pull-ups because pull-ups also make me feel good, but they're down the ladder in terms of movements that make me really happy. So I'm going to definitely start doing pull-ups. In fact, I even thought about doing push-ups this morning. So pull-ups, push-ups, kind of supersetted 10, 9, 8 all the way down. Maybe push-ups start from 20 or something like that. But I think each of these sessions that I do, obviously the squat is the most important part of the session. Start off with something like this, good mornings, hypers, depending on where I'm training, and go from there. Take care of the squat business and then go into my deficit deadlifts or whatever else is going on for the day. But, finish your sessions, start your sessions with super lightweight. There's just something about it. We can sit here and try to intricately work out exactly what fiber or which muscle is responsible for what needs to be warmed up. When you're doing such a large movement like a hip hinge, essentially, this is all this stuff is, a back raise, or a good morning, it does so much, and I've spoken previously about what muscles are responsible for back extension, but when you're doing something like a hip hinge, everything that you need in the squat is being worked. So it's far better, than hamstring curls, than whatever else you got going on, adductor machines, good girl, bad girl, like all this stuff. That's all great, and I've seen people warm up with that stuff. But doing a hip hinge, for me, it works. You might be somebody that has trouble with, knees or something. Elbows when you bench. So you might want to do something like tricep extensions or something like push-ups to start off with. Whatever it is, your focus needs to be just warming up with a lot of blood and finishing with a lot of blood. This is something that keeps knocking me on my head in my journey about this sort of stuff. You know, I remember days, man. I remember days where I used to come in on these 4:30. Now that I think about it, it's crazy stuff, man. I remember when we lived a little bit further away from the hospital, you know, so I would have even, you know, shorter amount of time to train. This is way before, like, this is the day 100. You know, I'd wake up, man, come in, and I would literally go from an empty barbell to like a 180 kilo squat, back squat, in the space of like 10 minutes. Like, no warm up, nothing, just grab the bar, bang, bang, you know, 60, 100, and I'll be just done with it. No wonder I had hip pain, man. No wonder. Maybe, like, you know, when I first started the journey, when I was like, whatever, like 27, 28, when was I? 29. When I first started, maybe I was a little bit, well, I was younger, obviously, but maybe I was a little bit more, I don't know, supple. I don't know what was going on, but it all came to a head when I started getting hip pain. You know, these 4:30 in the morning sessions, you're not supposed to be loading it up to like 90%. Like even the Bulgarians back in the day, like they would not train at 4:30 in the morning, right? I'm sure some of them did, but you know, it's not. You can't be durable doing that. So I had a great session. I feel great. I'm gonna go to work at a happy fella today purely because, you know, I warmed up and I feel good. So I still think 45 hypers are the shit. I wish I had one, but I don't. But Good Mornings is a great substitute. Appreciate everyone on Patreon, guys. YouTube comments, Discord, so many platforms now to mention, Instagram. Appreciate all of you fellas, but a special thanks to the three fellas on the screen, Taylor, Samuel, and Steven. Thank you for the support and the loyalty. The three of you fellas have been around for a long time on Patreon, so appreciate you fellas. All right, guys, let me get out of here and go to work. Catch you guys in the next one. Peace out.